Alright, y'all, I'm out in the garden again. This was a video that was suggested or requested of me to do. I actually tried to record this video last year, and it was a good video. And it was so stinking windy, I just scrapped it. And at that point, I didn't really want to shoot it again, so I didn't, but I will do it again this year. So it is bagging blossoms. I'm going to talk about the how and the why and just the steps that I take myself to bag blossoms. So what is bagging blossoms? So it's when you cover the blossoms of, your tomatoes or your peppers or whatever to keep them from getting cross-pollinated. Why would you care if they got cross-pollinated? Well, if you're someone like myself, I like to do a lot of trading. I'm in the Facebook groups, Tomato Obsession, Gardening Obsession, Flower Obsession, all the obsession groups. And I trade seeds. So you don't want to trade seeds that have been cross-pollinated, give someone something that they think they're getting, and then when they plant the seed and it grows, it's not what you said it was. So when you bag your blooms, you're isolating them from cross-pollination. For tomato plants, that's really not a huge deal. It's a very small percentage of a chance that they could be cross-pollinated. I think it's like 6%. And from what I've read, Brandywine varieties are more likely to cross-pollinate than other varieties. Take that as you will. So it's pretty easy. It sounds a little more intimidating than it actually is. Like scientific, it's not really. What do you need? These little mesh baggies that you can get at the Dollar Tree, Dollar General. I bought an entire set of these from Amazon. And so you can get them at several different places, but they have like a little drawstring at the top that you cinch it closed around the blooms, and it's mesh, so it's very breathable. The sun can still get through, and it doesn't matter if it's colored. I used colored last year. It's fine. I just took what I could get because although Dollar Tree had some clear ones or white ones, whatever, they had a lot more of the colored ones. And they come in blue. I think I've got yellow, pink maybe, but the color doesn't matter. They don't have to be clear, white, whatever. They can have a little color to it. It's not going to make a difference. Another thing that I like to do is I like to mark which blooms I have covered, because you're not going to leave the bag on there the entire time, because as the fruit gets bigger, because some of these slicers are going to get massive, and as the fruit gets bigger, it's not going to fit inside those tiny little bags. So I like to mark the stem with ribbon. You could use yarn, you could use a piece of tape, whatever, but I just tie a little piece of this around the stem. So let me show you what I've done here. One more thing I want to mention before I show you is that they say that ideally bagging the first set of blossoms increases the percentage of not having cross-pollinated. Like those first set of blooms are very, very, very unlikely to be cross-pollinated. But if you're gonna look at some of my plants, you'll see that I did not get to the first set of blooms, because there's a certain point when you want to put the bags over the blossoms before they open. And a lot of mine had opened. Some of them had already opened and closed. So sometimes you can't do ideal. So you just do what you can. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I also want to put this in there too, that you can do everything in your power to try to isolate a flower, and it could still be cross-pollinated. So if you're trading with the average person like myself, and you end up getting cross-pollinated seeds, even if you were like super excited about that variety, which I have been excited about varieties before, and then they ended up not looking like what I thought they were supposed to look like, or the plant didn't grow the way it was supposed to, or whatever, have some grace. Even though you might be disappointed, don't, track down that person and jump down their throat, because most likely they did what they could. I mean, there are probably those people out there that will give you seeds just saying that they're something and they're not. Whatever. They have a special place in hell. I'm just kidding. But most people aren't out to get you like that, and it's just seeds. And if you get a cool cross, that's kind of neat. So, you know, just have a little grace. And if you get cross-pollinated seeds, not what you traded for, it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. You can trade again with someone else for those same seeds and try to get them that way, or you can buy from a very reputable company, which even then you might still get a cross. You just don't ever know, you know. They also try to do what they can, but nobody's perfect. So I just wanted to put that in there because I know that there can be some people out there that would just lose their minds. Just try not to. Just try not to do that. All right, first of all, I'm going to show you one that I've already done. Okay, let me show you this one here. So this one is got its little piece of string on it, and then the little baggie, it's rained, so that's rain on it. Has its little blossoms in there, and it looks like a couple of them have closed, and a couple of them have just opened today, it looks like. Let me show you when you want to bag your blossoms. Okay, this is a good example. So this little cluster here, none of these blooms have opened, so this would be a good time to put a bag on them. See if we can find another example for you. So this cluster right here, as you can see, some have already opened. Not an ideal time to put a bag on them, because there is a chance that some of these that have opened have already cross-pollinated. The likelihood of that is very slim, but there's a possibility. So if you wanted to be super sure, you wouldn't want to bag these. This little cluster is another good example. Let me get this out of the way. So none of these have opened yet. So bagging this cluster would be good. Same goes for here. This little cluster, all of these tomatoes, this would be a good one to bag. Now I will say this, I want to warn you, do not bag the very top of your plant. That is how your plant grows. Your plant grows from the top. It also grows from suckers and everything, but if you, and I've done it before, this is why I'm warning you, because I made this mistake and I was unhappy. But I bagged the entire top of the plant, and then a few days later when I came back, there was a huge bunch of plant all squished up in the bag because it was still trying to grow inside the bag. So only do the stem. So you'd want to put the bag right around that. So that right there would be a good one to bag. None of them have opened. So I'm going to take my string, my little string here, and mark the truss that I'm about to bag. Just tie that. And then I take my little bloom bag, I'm gonna call it. And you're gonna make sure you get them all up in there, because you don't want to smash them. You want to make sure they're all in there really nicely, and then you're gonna cinch the bag closed. And now when those flowers open, no bees or anything can get in there, and they will self-pollinate, which most tomato flowers do anyways, but this is just, you know, like I said, you're isolating them and making sure of it. Like I said, you don't want to leave the bags on forever. You usually only need a few days. Sometimes it depends on how big the truss and how many flowers are on it, how many need to be pollinated, as to how long you want to leave the bags on there. But let's get in close here, dear, and show. So inside this bag, you can see all of the flowers have closed up, turned brown, pollinated, and there's also some tomatoes that are starting to form in there. You want to take the bag off because those tomatoes need room to grow, and everything's already pollinated, so you take the bag off. And then this is why I mark. Uh-oh. Be careful when you take your bag off, otherwise you'll do that. Dang it. That's sad. You can see they have pollinated, and I have a marker, this little string here tells me these are the ones that I isolated. So these are the tomatoes that I want to save the seeds from.
Save those seeds from those.
They're not, you can't save seeds from these because these are not mature enough.
All right, I didn't know that.
That is it. That is how you isolate your blooms so that your flowers don't cross-pollinate. If there's anything that I missed, always add it in the comments. I wrote down notes, but I forget stuff too, but I think I covered the gist of it. I hope that this was helpful, and I'm going to try to make it a little bit shorter for a small clip on tomato obsession. You might catch me on there as well, doing just like a shorter version. But that's going to be it for Bag and Blooms. Bye, guys.